welcome to the Sandra Scott Center. We're so excited to have you for our annual International Women's Day dinner tonight. It's always an amazing day when we have this event, and we're so glad that you are all here. My name is Priscilla Olivares. I'm the Senior Events Intern and Student Board President-elect for this next year. This event is by far one of KS WELI community's favorite events, and we're excited to bridge KS WELI community and our Austin community for networking and guided conversations. So go ahead and start eating, because we're going to have a packed night. And yeah, and our theme this year is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. And we're excited to have our keynote speaker talk about exactly that. So I'm going to kick it off to Captain Scoggins, who is our new Assistant Director for KS WELI. And yeah, go ahead and start eating.
Hey everyone, like Priscilla said, I am Captain Scoggins, and I'm the Assistant Director for KS WELI. We are so excited to have you here. Like Priscilla said, this is really one of our community's favorite events of the year, so we're so excited to have you here, and it's finally happening. Of course, at KS WELI, we love any opportunity to celebrate all the ways that women in our lives. Celebrate how far we've come, and talk about as a group how far we still have to go and what we can do to get there. International Women's Day is such a great opportunity to think bigger, right? Especially when we're in college, it's so easy to feel siloed and having our own little puzzles, thinking about just kind of what's going on with organizations or classes or groups of friends. So International Women's Day is such, like I said, a great opportunity to take a step back and kind of think about women in our local communities, in our state, in our country, and even in the world. Thinking about how you can impact those communities either through your work, philanthropic givebacks, or volunteer activities. That is why I'm so excited for our speaker today. She is from an organization doing amazing work in San Antonio, and I hope hearing from her inspires you to think about what you can be doing either now or in your post-grad future, whether you're building your own company or taking the corporate world by storm. How you can incorporate supporting and empowering women into the work you get to do every day. And before I introduce her, I also wanted to share that our speaker tonight is actually one of my college friends, and a part of the community that I was really invested in during my time in college as well. So just a reminder that this community and support system that you're building for yourself now is so important. So find people, look around to the table that you're with, find people who are going to support you and cheer you on, and who knows, maybe 10 years from now, getting to work with them or speak at an event for one of your friends, and do some amazing work together with people you might meet in this very rare work community. So invest in yourself and invest in your community. Okay, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Taryn Tiffin. Taryn is the program director at For Her. Her focus is on serving women who have experienced barriers such as poverty, trauma, marginalization, and abuse. She was responsible for the planning, implementation, and evaluation of the agency's community-facing programming that provides culturally grounded and trauma-informed services. Taryn is a staunch believer in the power of inclusive and authentic community, and her passion is to empower women to use their voice and walk with them on their journey toward healing and holistic well-being. So please join me in welcoming Taryn.
Thank you, Catherine, so much. Catherine just reminded me that we actually met almost exactly 14 years ago to the day, and I was like, oh, because it feels like we're both 25, 26, like we're just fresh out of college, and we're not anymore. It's so exciting though to be here with you today, and I'm really honored that David invited me, Catherine, to speak, and it has just been such a joy to reconnect and to talk about these important issues about what it means to empower the next generation of young leaders. So thank you so much, Catherine, for inviting me, for the rest of the KS WELI team, for hosting this event, and for your critical work around just supporting the next generation of women entrepreneurs. And thank you, students, for being here tonight. I am just really so proud of you and how you've chosen to engage in these important conversations, because you are the ones who are going to be leading the way in business and policy and nonprofits and in your family. So you're really the ones who are here to celebrate and recognize. We all have a why behind why we show up today. So why are you here on International Women's Day? Hopefully not just for the great free meal. Why does empowering women to lead matter to you? And what's the story behind your commitment, or at least your interest in gender equity? I want to tell you a little bit about my life, why the work that I do is so important to me. So as Catherine mentioned, I serve as the program director director at For Her. It's a grassroots women empowerment organization in San Antonio. So our mission is to build equity for women by providing a network of support and responsive resources, all with the goal of promoting self-sufficiency and holistic well-being. My passion is to empower women to use their voice and to walk with them on their journey towards healing. And more than anything, I'm a believer in the healing power of inclusive community. So in my time as a student, in my work in education, in faith communities, in my personal life, the through line for me has always been community and bringing people together in a space that feels authentic and safe, a space where you don't have to wear a mask. In a lot of ways, a space like this, it feels like. I'm a notes person, so just bear with me. Looks like I have a ton, but we're just gonna keep trying to go. So I'm so passionate about this idea of a community that I figured out how to make it my full-time job. But going beyond that and just the work that I do, I believe there's power in women coming together specifically. And I believe that behind every woman there should be a circle of other women cheering her on. And I'm the oldest of 5 sisters. So this has been part of my DNA since my younger sister was born. I know that we need each other, and I know we're better together. The women at For Her, the women in my family, they reflect love, and they're the embodiment of hope and resilience. And they're my light. They're why I show up and recognize International Women's Day. They're why I do the work that I do. So as we celebrate International Women's Day this week, I want to recognize that the UN's theme every year is invest in women. And if you're like me, you immediately thought about money, which admittedly is critical to addressing these issues of inequity. We know that women's organizations are grossly underfunded, women's businesses are underfunded, women are underpaid in the workforce, and women do the brunt of unpaid labor at home. Pretty stark reality. But the more women I meet and the more stories that I hear, the more I learn from experts, I'm realizing that investment is about a lot more than money. It's a much bigger, richer sense. It's about investing your time, your effort, your energy. So, in fact, you might not have a lot of money to invest right now. I mean, a lot of your students, I work at a nonprofit, let's be honest, but we all have time and energy and effort to invest. So, we all invest in each other every day. Tonight I want to talk to you about what it looks like For Her, what the investment that we're making in women. And I want to encourage you to dream about what it looks like for you right now in this season to invest in women. And I hope you all are doing what I'm telling you. Please do it. I want to start by telling you a little bit about For Her, the work that we're doing. So as I mentioned, we're a women's empowerment nonprofit. We're founded by my dear friend, Kayla Carter. For Her was born out of Kayla's own experiences with trauma and abuse and sexual assault. And she felt this deep calling to create a community for young women to come together and to talk about their experiences, to move beyond their trauma, to transform their lives. And because of Kayla's love for cooking and hospitality, that really just looked like starting a group out of her living room, where people could have a home-cooked meal, they could have an encouraging discussion, and through these simple gatherings, this nonprofit was born. Women found a safe place to share their story. They found support from others who had similar experiences. And eventually, this group grew into doing outreach to women in San Antonio who worked in the sex industry. But since then, we've continued to evolve and grow as a survivor-led nonprofit in direct response to the needs that we're seeing in the women who are in our community. So, since day one, For Her has existed because women disproportionately experience these barriers that Catherine mentioned: poverty, marginalization, abuse. And all these barriers, they drive inequality, they diminish our health and well-being, and they perpetuate cycles of generational trauma that can be hard to break out of. And honestly, these problems are especially bad in my city, in San Antonio. Women in San Antonio have higher rate of violence at the hands of their partners. They have lower rates of education, they have wider earning gaps, and it's worse in San Antonio than it is in Dallas or Austin or Houston. And it can be so easy to think that these issues, they don't actually affect the women or the people that they know. But all of us, we have mothers, friends, sisters, aunts that we care deeply about. And the fact is that at least 1 in 3 of them have experienced something like this. These issues are not something that's out there. They're facing the women that we know. They're right here in our community, regardless of your your zip code or your ethnicity. It's a hard reality to grapple with, especially when you look around the room today and how many women are here. So the women being affected by these issues, it's not because they're any less smart or capable or hardworking. They're just like us. And that's why for her we made the decision to throw our doors open wide and to pull up more chairs to the table. So while our initial focus was on serving women who'd experienced sexual trauma specifically, now we welcome women and folks from all backgrounds, from all experiences, but we still prioritize serving those who've been marginalized, abused, and left out, disadvantaged by multiple sources of oppression. So just to give you some stats, in our community at Fort Hare, 60% of the women are making less than $15,000 a year, and most of them are supporting kids with that. The vast majority of them are single moms. 55% of our community members, they've reported being a victim of crime, with domestic violence and sexual assault being the most prevalent. The women in our community, generally, they're not unhoused, they're not experiencing an imminent threat or a safety concern, but instead, they find themselves on the other side of the crisis. They're still vulnerable. But where we found our niche is serving women who would otherwise fall through the cracks, where traditional social services leave off. So when people ask, like, okay, who does For Her serve? Like, get down to the nitty-gritty. We say that For Her services are for any person who's seeking safe and healthy relationships, who's seeking financial stability, who's seeking improved well-being and healthy community. I mean, that's most women. At our community center, we offer an open door to anyone who wants to come. And the first thing that we do is we provide dinner. We believe in filling bellies and the healing power of community. And we don't use the terms client and volunteer because that can create this hierarchy, a false dichotomy between the haves and the have-nots. We believe that we're all community members. And we're all equals at the table. We believe that everyone has something to learn, everyone has something to give and to teach. We believe that we need each other. We believe that we're better together. But how do we actually address those issues that I outlined? So whether someone is focused on healing after leaving a toxic or abusive relationship, they want to find friends as a newly single parent, or they're building a sustainable career, we're here for her. So we do this by focusing on economic empowerment programming, mental health, and then building that network of support. Our program model acts like a funnel, starting with outreach and awareness. We will literally talk to anybody about these issues of gender equity, hence this is why I'm here. I'll talk to anybody about it. But then we move to large group workshops that we host, like intimate support groups where people are really building these deep relationships that are so beautiful. And then we also have individual services. That looks like counseling, it looks like advocacy, going with the woman to her court date so she doesn't have to be alone. Ultimately, though, community and connection are at the heart of everything we do. Because healing isn't something that happens alone. It takes collaborative care, yes, from doctors, from counselors, from social workers, but most of all, from supportive and trustworthy friends. We know that having this network of support, it influences an individual's educational attainment, their financial stability, their holistic well-being. And in fact, a lack of social connection is so dangerous. It's as bad for you as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The Surgeon General literally released a warning about how bad isolation can be for your health. We know that that type of loneliness, where you don't feel seen, you don't feel loved for who you are, it's a health crisis with epidemic proportions, especially post-COVID, especially for women. And especially for the women who come through our doors at For Her. Because they feel isolated, they feel labeled or judged from the trauma that they've experienced. But in our gatherings, we invite women to be authentic. They don't have to hide the hard parts of their story. They don't have to hide the parts of them that are hurting. Our hope is that our little corner of the world, our little corner of San Antonio, is a place where people can be fully seen and fully loved for exactly who they are, exactly where they are in their story. So if you think about a really hard day in your life, or your hardest season, and you think about what got you through, likely it was your people, the people who rallied around you. I don't know if it's too far-fetched to say that connection is the solution to many of our societal ills, but I know this for sure, that people who have this healthy network of support, they're less likely to be victimized, they're less likely to be exploited, And people with connections, whether that's personal or professional, they're more likely to have opportunities. They're more likely to have a safety net. And I'll admit that there's a little bit of hesitation when I got up here to talk about community, because that idea for a lot of people, like, it just comes off as fluffy, like as something that's optional, not taken seriously, really. But what about practice of community, of welcoming people in? It's not just extraneous, and it's not just something that would be nice. But this is an everyday, intentional way to live out our commitment to elevating the status of women. One that's a lot bigger than just having a fun social network. We prioritize community support in our work because we know that this is a social determinant of health. It has a major impact on people's well-being, their quality of life. So no, it's not just about a fun social group. It's about well-being, ours and others, the women around us. This is about caring for our sisters. And we believe that it's one of the simplest and most effective ways to affect change. So that's the change that we're investing in. I want to tell you some common outcomes that we're hoping for everyone who walks through our doors. We work to ensure that all of our community members are free from abusive relationships, whether that's romantic or otherwise, like an exploitative employer. We hope that she's engaged in fair, sustainable employment or an educational program. We hope that she has improved mental health and a sense of dignity and worth. And of course, we hope that she has a local community that she can turn to for support. So while each of our community members will come to us with different needs, different goals, and our approach is organic and it's individualized, I mean, this is our universal hope for all the women at Fort Her, for the women in San Antonio, and I mean, ultimately for the women of the world. This is what we're investing our time, our effort, our energy in. So you may not have faced any of these issues that I've mentioned, issues of violence or poverty or isolation, but here's the thing. You know what it's like to feel unsafe. You know what it's like to feel overlooked or left out or stereotyped. But even in that situation, there's something that you can do right now to invest in women. What can you do in this season as a student? Right where you are, what's it look like to invest in your community, on your campus, in women? So if we think about the way that the world has failed women, and how women face systemic oppression, it can be overwhelming. It is for me. It is for me every day. Maybe you're in a position of power and you can make these grand systemic changes, so great. Please do if that's where you find yourself. But I think for most of us, especially in this room, our circles of influence are a little bit smaller right now. But we can still choose to empower each other in big and small ways every day. So first, hear me when I say this, that investing in women looks like investing in yourself, investing in your own health and your financial stability and your career, because you can't pour from an empty cup. Second, investing in women looks like being an advocate in the places where you do have privilege, because you do. You have privilege in some spaces. Whether that's at work or at class, in your student org, in your family, you can advocate for the women who are coming behind you, your little sisters, your niece, later on your intern. So more than ever, I've been really thinking about what does that look like to invest in the next generation of women leaders. Because I'm 5 months pregnant with my first child, and it's a daughter. So what does that look like to raise up the next generation? So finally, invest in women by finding your community and show up fiercely in practical ways for each other. I went through a really unexpected and scary divorce when I was in my 20s, and then I had some health issues that I didn't expect. And during those times, it was the women in my community who literally picked me up off the floor, housed me, cooked for me, prayed for me, cut my hair, because that's what you do when you're going through a crisis. So do that for the women in your circle. Show up for them and embrace community over competition. So those practices, investing in yourself, investing in younger generations, finding a supportive community, that will serve you throughout your life. But as future leaders, you're going to have even more opportunities to support and uplift each other in the pursuit of power, empowerment, and success. So even investing in women in that really traditional sense of the word. So as you launch and grow companies, yes, I help you invest in women by hiring them, by supporting other women-owned businesses, by committing to equal pay and generous parental leave. But even more, regardless of what your future looks like, I hope tonight you're just inspired to invest in reciprocity, creating social capital, fostering a sense of belonging. I mean, because that's an investment worth making, and it's something that you can do now. It's a legacy worth living, and you can start living that legacy right now. So thank you guys so much for inviting me to talk about For Her, for letting me share my passion for the work that I do. At For Her, we're building a culture of connection, connecting women to meaning, to purpose, to financial stability, and to a compassionate community, all to ensure collective thriving. Ultimately, what we envision is a world where women from all different walks of life, from diverse backgrounds, they can come together and they can cultivate transformational change for themselves, but also for their community. And ultimately, that's why we're here tonight, to cultivate that transformational change. I'm just really excited to have you alongside me in this journey. Thank you for the important work that you're doing in your own communities and on campus. And thank you for being For Her.
Thank you so much, Taryn. That was incredible. Now we're going to transition into the conversation part of tonight. So table hosts, there are little papers in front of you with some topics to talk about. And when you're kind of done with your conversations, grab some dessert at the cupcake bar and take some pictures at the photo booth. But enjoy.